I'll be honest, I'm not in a good place right now, and I haven't been for, well, going on 3 years now. No, it's been longer than that, but it's kind of building to a head in the last 3 years. I don't want this to become a political channel where we discuss national politics. I don't want it to become that. I don't. Um, I don't want to. I'm a person who tries to look for the commonality in everybody, and then who, uh, and then build off of that, rather than this tiny topic over here, this little controversy over here, or whatever stupidity Twitter's come up with these days. There's a very specific reason. I've been asked a couple of times, and it's been pushed in real life. There's a very specific reason. One of the specific reasons why I don't do social media is because I don't want to deal with the stupid, and I don't want to deal with the harassment. I really don't. The closest to social media I get is YouTube, and then I'll say my other, can't really say social, uh, not outing, my social output is from DeviantArt. But I don't talk about my DeviantArt stuff because that kind of deals with stuff that's not really relevant to what's here. So I don't advertise it, and I don't encourage the people to go over there. Like, if you like me for the giant robots and the Transformers and Legos, stay here, fine. If you go to DeviantArt, you're gonna find I'm a completely different person. You're gonna find, you may find a side of me that you don't like. And then it'll affect how you feel about me here. So that's why I don't advertise that. But those are my only connections to social media, if you could call that. And DeviantArt isn't really a social media platform. YouTube has become a social media platform, but it isn't really. YouTube is something different. But I constantly see, or I constantly and increasingly see, you you don't support me, so you're this, or you're stupid because you didn't consider this, or you're a fag, you're Hitler, you're all of those things. And oftentimes those kinds of jabs are I'm not looking at anything particular over here. I promise. I'm thinking as I say this. Those jabs, they're not well thought out. There's this impulse that the internet has to respond instantly to anything, and to respond without taking 5 seconds to think. There, I, here's my problem, and this is my problem. I was born, and I don't hide this, I was born on September 23rd, 1982. 1982 was the year of the dog, according to one astrological calendar thing. I think it's a Chinese thing. Year of the dog basically means if you're born in the year of the dog, and the Chinese zodiac rotates every 12 years. So it would have been 1982, and then it would have been 94, and then it would have been 2006, and then 2006 becomes 2018. So last year, I think last year was Year of the Dog again. So, people who were born on those years, both before and after. If you're born once every 12 years, if you're born in the Year of the Dog, whatever. If you're a dog, it doesn't mean that you're a slobbering, mangy, stupid vulture or something like that, and you like to sniff your own butt and all those things. Although that does happen once in a while. Being a dog means that you're loyal. It means that you're honest. It means you are willing to defend your friends, and you're willing to defend allies. But at the same time, it also means you pick and choose your fights. Bark is worse than your bite. That kind of stuff. Switching astrological signs, September 23rd is the first day of the month of Libra. Libra is symbolized by scales, scaled weights, you know, those things. Those who are born under the sign of Libra are very much about balance and fair judgment, about looking at both sides of a problem or a situation, getting the information here, but also equally getting it from this side, and then responding to that. So not only am and keep in mind, somebody came up with these things 2,000, 3,000, 5 years ago, and I treat being a Libra dog um, as trivial. Like I don't base my life around it. But it is interesting that two, three, five, 8,000 years ago, however long ago Chinese history goes, it's difficult to tell. They like to prop themselves up, whatever. Um, that thousands of years ago, probably long before my okay, I won't say that. That would have been dumb, Ava. Thousands of years ago, somebody came up with these personality profiles and they figured out the numbers behind it, and somehow those still apply thousands of years later. I have high functioning autism, again, which I don't advertise, but I don't lean on it. So, like, I'm not afraid to talk about it, but I don't advertise it. Um, I have high functioning autism, which means I'm disconnected from birth from certain aspects of society. Regardless of which society I'm born into, I could have been born in India, I could have been born in Israel, I could have been born in Haiti, I could have been born in some African country, I could have been born in Russia, I could have been born in Great Britain, and regardless of what nationality you are when you're born, regardless of which culture you choose to follow when you turn 18 or whatever it is, um, high functioning autism affects everybody who has it equally. And what it does, it's a learning and social anxiety impairment disorder, meaning that we have there's certain instinctive programming that everybody has when they're born. Well, the instinctive programming pertaining to reading other people, empathizing, or even sympathizing with other people is denied. So, sarcasm, lies, jokes, anything where there is a deception, whether it is for ill or good intent, it doesn't matter. Any kind of, I don't remember his name. What's the name of that one gray skinned alien who's in Guardians of the Galaxy? You know him? He can't take a joke, he doesn't understand sarcasm and all those things, but he can still. It's kind of like that, except not quite so. It's not race. It's not built into the race or into the species. It's a defect. Okay, it's a defect that happens as you're being formed within the womb. Nobody knows how high functioning autism, Asperger's syndrome specifically, nobody knows what causes it. Nobody knows how to cure it. Nobody knows why it happens. I guess why and how it happens would be kind of the same thing. And that there is no cure for it. There is no medication you can take. There's a joke amongst us Aspies that if you've met one person with Asperger's syndrome, then you've met one person with Asperger's syndrome. And the reason for this is because the much like autism in general is an umbrella term for multiple symptoms, or I'm sorry, multiple diagnoses. The thing about Asperger's syndrome specifically, which is one kind of autism, is that the severity of symptoms in one subject is not necessarily going to be the same or even apparent in a different subject. So, for example, I have, and I'm not kidding when I say this, I have never gotten so angry in my entire life ever. I have never, ever, ever gotten so angry or so upset about something that I have literally punched a hole through a wall with my bare hand. I have never done that. But I have heard of 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 22-year-olds who have done that. It's, well, he has anger issues. Well, you have to understand the underlying issues of why they're upset like that. Um, People with Asperger's syndrome, we don't drool. We don't do that. Um, we do the rocking motions, we do the repetitive motions. Even I have them. You may not notice them in this video, but I have those repetitive motions as well. Um, Not necessarily rocking back and forth in my chair, but I do have them. You know, I get itchy skin and or sensitivity to light, sensitivity to sounds, certain kinds of high pitched sounds. I can't stand those. Um, there are some people with Asperger's. They have a significant increase to the sense of smell. I don't. My sense of smell is actually quite dull compared to other people, compared to other males. So my point in bringing that up is that I am at a disconnect socially from other people. But I have had, I can't really say training because I'm not that kind of dog, but I haven't received formal counseling or formal education that you, the average viewer, would ordinarily not get. It wouldn't even cross your minds. You wouldn't even think of it happening. So I have not gone through that. I have been very fortunate in that regard. Yes, I had a rocky childhood, which haunted me all the way up through high school. Yes, I did. Um, but not to the point where I punched holes in any walls. I guarantee you. And they had to have the police called on me because I was upset. I mean, I had my share of temper tantrums the same as any other child going through preteens and teens and whatever. I had my fair share of those, whatever, but nowhere near to the degree of a meltdown. Nowhere near. So in that regard, I have been very, very fortunate. Very fortunate. And I'm not a particularly religious person. I was born into a religious household, and that's okay. But I do not hold to a laid down set of rules, religious rules and beliefs. That being said, I just forgot what I was going to say. Yet another symptom of Asperger's syndrome. Where was I going with that? Oh, I remember. Um, that being said, I am not a religious person, but if I was, before I go to bed every single night, and when I woke up every single morning, I would get down on my knees, put my hands together, and I would say, "Thank you, God, for not making me worse or more disabled than I already am." I'm not kidding. It is that close. I'm not bragging or boasting when I say that of all the people with Asperger's syndrome that I have ever met, and I've only met maybe a couple dozen, maybe, of all the people with Asperger's syndrome that I've ever met, including peers, including people my age at the time, I have been recognized by the parents of those kids with Asperger's syndrome, or those young adults, as being far more mature, far more I can't say less impacted by it, but the way that I socially interact with them is very surprising. The way I think about things is very surprising for those parents who have to deal with those meltdowns, who have to deal with the shaking motions and the you only eat this every single day. You only ever wear sweatpants as your only form of clothing. You don't go outside. You only like this TV program. You're obsessed about this thing. Of all those parents have looked at me and said, "Wow, Ava, you are so easy to understand. You're so open about it. You're so you say that you haven't gone through these training procedures, which we have to go through every single day. There are some people with Asperger's syndrome. It's so bad that they literally have to have a script, a piece of paper in front of them in order to carry out. I mean, I'm not kidding, not metaphysical, but a literal piece of paper in their hands in order to conduct a conversation. I'm not kidding. I have seen it with my own eyes. It's something that is completely alien to you. Believe it or not, it's actually quite alien to me as well. But that's one of the symptoms. So, with all of this said, I look at what the Walt Disney Company is doing with the promotions for Captain Marvel. I look at what the Walt Disney Company has done with the Star Wars sequel trilogy. I Force Awakens was not bad. It was acceptable for first outing. You know, we sci-fi fans, we usually give the first outing. It's like, okay, we could forgive you for a couple of things. Here, let's help you move on to your second season, your second movie. Here's the things that we like. Here's the things we don't like. Okay, so Force Awakens for me was not a bad first outing. There's a couple of things like I wouldn't have killed Han Solo, but there's a couple of things. So okay, whatever. Um, or no, and also Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Is it particularly memorable? No. Is it a Star Wars movie? Yes. Was it a good Star Wars movie? Sure. Was it a standout movie amongst all science fiction films? Not particularly, no. What's the one thing from Rogue One that everybody remembers? Darth Vader in the hallway, just absolutely shrekking, which is what we'd never seen before. We'd never seen Darth Vader do that before. So now we got our chance to see this. So most people point to that, and most people point to the CGI face of Carrie Fisher in the third to last shot of the movie. That's pretty much all that anybody talks about from Rogue One. But there were. I accept what happened in Rogue One. So Force Awakens, Rogue One, I'm fine with those. It's kind of everything that happened after that where I've got the issues. I've seen The Last Jedi once. I did I buy it or did my parents buy it? My parents bought it. It's the not the extended director edition. I don't think there is one of those, but it's the has all the behind the scenes stuff that I really enjoy. I've seen that movie once, and uh, the fact that I saw Force Awakens like 5 or 6 times. So okay, whatever. But uh, the Last Jedi I've seen once, and it's like, why would you do that? Now it's so all right. So like Star Wars is going to a place that I don't really like. Now to be fair, I was one of those Star Wars fans. I was very much a fan of the original trilogy. I grew up on the original trilogy. Ep, la, yeah, right. Return of the Jedi came out when I was 1 year old. So, I'm not a first generation Star Wars fan. I'm a kind of a second generation Star Wars fan. Um, my dad got me into Star Wars, so I'm that guy. Anyways, and my mom too. So I was very much a fan of the original trilogy, and then the prequel trilogy. Episode 2 really ruined it for me. Episode 3 was okay, but it didn't quite fix all the things that needed to be fixed. So I kind of walked away at that point from Star Wars, where I just kind of I'll buy a couple of Lego sets here and there, whatever. But I don't have any Star Wars action figures. No stormtroopers, Imperial officers, X-wing pilots, none of that. Would I like to have had those when I was a kid? Sure, why not? Yeah. So when Force Awakens came out, I was not as attached to Star Wars as maybe I would have been in the early 2000s when Episode 1 came out. I wasn't as dedicated to that. So Force Awakens, Rogue One, I can watch them like, okay, that's okay, whatever. But in terms of, oh, I should really turn that off so they don't interrupt me. But in terms of Last Jedi, there's a lot of things in there just from the perspectives of being a science fiction movie. Or no, I'm sorry, it's not being a fantasy movie, being a science fantasy as I call it. There's a lot of things in there I disagreed with. Like, why would you do that? And why is she in there? And how did she survive? And there's a bunch of stuff in there that doesn't make a lot of sense, even if you look at it from outside the perspective of having never seen the previous 7 movies. If you look at it from that perspective, there's some stuff in there I don't agree with. Then you bring in the aspect of, is it good Star Wars? And then it's like, nope, 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 it's not a Star Wars movie. So um, I'm in agreement with Last Jedi, but Force Awakens and Rogue One, I was like, okay, those were good outings. We kind of needed that. In my opinion, Rogue One was a good movie. Force Awakens, okay, it was a good movie. Um, so this shit about what was it, the Star Wars Kids? If you haven't seen it, there's a number of videos that are floating around that was it Princess Leia in episode 4, she gets trapped with Luke at the retracted bridge, and they get stuck behind the wall there, and then they get attacked from those other stormtroopers up there. Well, anyways, there's a recent. It just came out a couple of weeks ago. There's a recent 2D animated version of that same scene that Disney animated, and it shows Princess Leia literally hitting Luke as if he's a fucking idiot and looking down at what he's trying to sort out with the cable or whatever it is. He was pulling it out to make certain it's the right length, and he had to make certain that this was here, and Leia was covering him. But in this animated version, in the exact same sequence, Luke is portrayed as a fumbling idiot who destroyed the bridge controls. Like, you fucking idiot, you shouldn't have done that. And then he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And what does Leia do? She literally hits him for his stupidity, and then she keeps shooting. And that's what children are being shown. She was providing cover fire in the original movie, and he shot the control panel to prevent the door from raising. What he didn't know was that it's also the bridge controls. Okay, he made a mistake, and he didn't know beforehand. Fair enough. But Leia did not hit him for it. She probably. So this animated video that's popped up. What is? And there's also Star Wars Resistance, which I haven't seen a single episode. I don't know a single character. I don't know anything about Resistance. And I don't care. Star Wars Rebels was as far as I went, and Star Wars Rebels is what was left of Lucasfilm when it was still owned by itself. Oh no, owned by 20th Century Fox. So that's as far as I've gone. I've kind of stopped since then. Like, I don't care. So I look at what Disney's doing to Star Wars, and I don't like it. I look at what Disney is doing with the. To be fair, as of the recording, as of this recording, the farthest into the Marvel Cinematic Universe I've gone, I've seen maybe a handful of MCU movies. I've seen the first 3 Iron Man. I saw the first Avengers. I've seen Black Panther. I've seen Guardian of the Galaxies Part 1. I saw the first 2 Thor movies, which means Dark World. This is pretty much as far as I've gone. And I saw the first Captain America, the first Avenger. So that's probably 9 films out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that I've seen. From the start, in 2008 when Iron Man first started, up till now. That's as far as I've gone. Yes, I would like to see many of the others. Yes, I would. Was I planning to see Captain Marvel in the theater? No. Why? Because, well, I haven't seen any of the Marvel Cinematic movies, so I don't care. All right, I'll just rent it on DVD or something like that. But the publicity and the behind the scenes reveals about not necessarily what the story's going to be about, but how the character of Captain Marvel herself is being portrayed, both as an actor and as being directed, as being edited, as being written. I'm not liking the character. I don't like what she represents. I don't like the direction that the director is sending the movie. I don't like the portrayal of the actress. I don't like any of that. So, like, I'm not going to commit to it. Have I seen, was it Avengers Infinity War? No, I haven't. Have I seen Avengers Age of Ultron? No, I haven't. In fact, I kind of stopped watching them. Not intentionally, but like, from Age of Ultron onwards, I haven't seen most of those. The only ones I've seen past that is, was it Guardians of the Galaxy Part 1 and Black Panther. Those are the only other ones I've seen. I'd like to see Doctor Strange. I'd like to see Thor or Ragnarok. I'd like to see. Did Hulk get an independent movie yet? I don't remember. There's a number of films. I'd like to see Captain America: Winter Soldier and Captain America: Civil War. Should Captain America have been the focus of Civil War been the focus of a Captain America solo movie? No, I think it should have been an Avengers type movie or Avengers scale movie, not been titled Captain America, which is a common complaint I've been hearing. So I look at what Disney's doing with Star Wars, and I look at what Disney is doing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which, because I avoid spoilers, I know there's a lot of roiling trouble that's happening with the fan base, but I don't know why. So there's a significant degree of deliberate ignorance that floats around when it comes to me in the MCU. Then I look at what CBS television is doing with Star Trek and how foolishly ignorant they were. We Trekkers are calling it STD, Star Trek in name only. There have been people who have been said, "Oh, this is a really great Star Trek series, and it's worthy of," and they have no fucking clue. They have no idea. This is a program that only started after there was an after the 50th anniversary. It should have been ready for the 50th anniversary. But literally, the guy who was the CEO of CBS Television, when they acquired the rights to Star Trek, he literally could not tell the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. Like, is this the thing that Chewbacca does? You ask him that question, that would be his answer. That's how he would respond. I'm not kidding. So I look at the Walt Disney Company, which all giant companies are going to eventually become greedy, and they're eventually going to become, uh, money grubbing, and they're going to do things like that, and they're going to be manipulative, and they're all of them eventually become that because that's how the species works. So I look at the Walt Disney Company and all the movies and cartoons that I enjoyed from them over the years. Wonderful stuff. My life would not have been the same if the Walt Disney Company had not been involved at some point. So if that's not an endorsement for that company, I don't know what is. My life would not have been the same without them. But that being said, the company as I know them now is nowhere near is almost nowhere near what it was like when I was born in 1982. It's nowhere near. Uh, and CBS television, I don't care. There's been a smattering of TV series that I liked or disliked from CBS. I don't care. They just so happen to be the copyright holders of Star Trek right now. So, am I supposed to give a damn? No, I don't give a damn. No, on the contrary, I do give a damn, and it's because I give a damn that I'm so pissed. Anyways, Disney, CBS, Star Wars, Star Trek, and then you've got. I have yet to put this into storage, by the way. It's been sitting here since I did the most recent unboxing. What was it? 3 months ago at this point, I think. You bring Super Sentai into the equation and Ryu Soldier. And that's something that I mean, you've heard my rants about it. That's something that I've been ranting and raving about that for 10 years. 2009, Samurai Sentai Shinkager. That's when my complaints started because the mecha did not line up with, um, they said it was going to be origami, and it doesn't even really look like origami, and yet it's supposed to be origami. And then we had the cross-platform medium, the thing that the objects, the holdable object that goes between roleplay and mecha. Even these are. Technically, these are the medium. All of the mecha are. How do I lift this? It's been a while. See this thing under here? That's the medium. That's the thing that makes the transition, the crossover transition between roleplay toy, the Versus Changer specifically, and actual mecha. Combining mecha. How does this work? I turned it the wrong way. Okay. So Super Sentai is something that I've been complaining about. Ryu Soldiers, I'm getting close to getting a couple of things from Ryu Soldier, but the problem is it's part swapping. Literal part swapping, which I don't want. And they have literal Lego studs on the front and the sides and backs and everything. Kishiryuo is littered in Lego studs. It's covered. It's got like 8 or 9 mounting points available to it. And the first thing I thought of when I saw those was Go Say Great. It's identical problem. And Go Say Great didn't transform. It was very blocky. There was very little that actually transformed in there. When I've already made a whole video about that, or 3. So I've got that, and then I have, uh, so Super Sentai is not something that I'm deeply involved in right now. I've been skirting it at best. I don't have the entire Lupin V Pat collection. I don't have it. The Siren Striker, the video that I made with the Siren Striker, that's the last thing I've got from it. I'm about this close to getting the Versus Changer, but I can't quite justify getting it. Like, the only reason you get the Versus Changer is because you have all of the mecha, and I've only got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and they're all accessories with the exception of Good Striker. So, and I'm not going to be getting the, oh god, I actually remember what's called the X Emperor. I'm not going to be getting, or Emperor X. I'm not going to be getting that. I've already said that. So I can't lean on Star Wars. I can't lean on Star Trek. Star Trek might come around because there's been internal shifting around at CBS television, and there's a really good video that explains why it is that Star Trek has become so broken up in the last 5 or 6 years. I'll link that down in the description. It's very eye opening. It's about a half hour long, but if you stay with it, it's very it describes both the facts, and then it moves into theory. Fan theory, why it is that these things happen, why it is these things might be happening, outsider information. So I'll link that down in the description. So I do have hope for Star Trek, but I know it's going to be at least 2 more years before Star Trek has a chance to turn itself around. So I have to play the waiting game there. Um, Gundam exists, and I'm not a, like, I enjoy Gundam, but I've kind of, money is an issue, and I also don't build model kits. I prefer things pre-built, pre-assembled, and pre-painted, and all those things. That's how I prefer. So whatever. Um, but um, franchises that I've been leaning on my entire life: Disney, Hasbro, Bandai. Um, I can't say Lego. That's not right. No, Lego's doing fine. Lego's doing fine. Lego is expensive, but Lego is fine. I always advocate for Lego. Um, what else? Uh, Bandai Toei Plex. I've been leaning on that since 1993, even if I didn't know about Super Sentai. Um, I play 2 video games, 2 online video games. The first one is Guild Wars 2, which I've made a number of those videos, and I don't get a lot of reception or reaction to those, so I may just discontinue those. Like, I'll continue doing the jumping puzzles, but I'm not certain if any of you are here for that. So please let me know in the comments if you like my Guild Wars 2 content, if at all. And the other video game I follow is MechWarrior Online, which I recorded like 4 hours of footage the other day, and I've been condensing that down to into a bunch of separate videos. So I just need to remember to upload them. But I kind of want to avoid the thing that I did in early January, where I posted a bunch of Transformer videos, one right after the other. Even I knew that was kind of taxing. So, but anyways, there's a lot of balance issues with MechWarrior 5, and the meta is, I don't follow metas in video games, so MechWarrior 5 is more about um, meta builds, and there's balance issues mixed up in there, and there's also because MechWarrior Online deals with walking tanks. There's a lot, and teamwork is essential, and coordination is essential. There's not a lot of video games on the market right now, and you can go anywhere you want to. Look at the biggest name video games where they're first or third person shooters. You can go to any of those, and not one of them, Not one of them that I'm aware of, unless it's like a two or three, 2 or 4 player co-op or whatever it is. If you're doing with like large open worlds that deal with more than 4 players at a time, whether they're teamwork usually isn't a factor. Fortnite, Overwatch, Team Fortress 2, outside of guild, corporation, clan fights, okay? So outside of those competitive, okay? If you just go in as a pug, the vast majority of all those titles and many more that I just listed, they're all about solo play, where you don't support other people, where, kill stealing and all those things are still relevant. So I prefer So with MechWarrior Online, because most people come into the game and they're like, "Oh, I can just solo this in a 20-ton flea or in a locust, or I can," which are different mechs, by the way. They're 20-ton reverse leg mechs. Um, or you can run out there with an Arctic cheetah, or no, not Arctic, Mist Lynx. Something like, oh yeah, maybe it is an Arctic cheetah. You can run around with these 20-ton mechs, just run around all over the place and absolutely annihilate something that's literally 5 times your own weight. Um, there's something seriously wrong with that. Lights are supposed to be scouts, and in the game they're treated as haha, get good, 360 no scope. I can DACA you to death with 12 machine guns, and you with your Ultra AC-20 and your 6 medium pulse lasers and your SRM-6 plus Artemis. You can't scratch me, but I can just for a minute and a half. I can circle, 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 circle. Oh, you're dead. Oh, I'm sorry. GG. Better luck next time. There's balance issues with the game. So I can't really lean on MechWarrior Online. I mean, I would like to, but I've been burned by it. So I only go in like for a couple of days every month, if that, and then that's it. Um, there's a lot of gaps in there. And then when I do the recordings, like, yeah, I'd like to be in there with a group of people, but there's nobody to play with because none of them are on. So, and then just 4 or 5 days ago, uh, Guild Wars 2, which is a swords and sorcery fantasy MMO, they got a huge, completely unexpected shakeup behind the scenes that nobody was anticipating. And it's going to take a long time for the company to shake that loose and get readjusted to the scenario there. So it's entirely possible that Guild Wars 2, which is as of right now the how can I say, the online game that I've played for the longest single amount of time. I've played Guild Wars 2 for 4 years. SDGO I played for 3.5 years. Xsteel I played for 2 years. So Guild Wars 2 is now at the point, even though it's swords and sorcery, which I'm not a huge fan of. I'm not into the gothic swords and sorcery fantasy stuff. That's not my thing. Guild Wars 2 has just the right amount of context and content that it keeps me interested. It keeps me going. And it doesn't place an emphasis on PvP only or World v World only or competitive only game styles. If you want to do open world, you're welcome to do that. If you want to do dungeoning, you're welcome to do that. If you want to do structured PvP, you're welcome to do that. What makes Guild Wars such a fairly unique RPG, or I'm sorry, MMO, is I guess there is some RPG stuff. Is that it's a mixed bag. There's even some platforming involved in there, and there's also, if set up properly, and they're not going to explain it in the initial instructions. There is a way to set up the game so that you can indeed play it as a third-person shooter, if you want to do that. That's actually how I play it. It's an MMO that has a camera that can be controlled by your very dirty mouse, very worn out mouse. I need to replace this thing. It's got a nylon cord, which I've never ever liked. It's getting frazzled. So yeah, this is my mouse, by the way. It's a gaming mouse, which means I can switch modes on it. So I can play. Thank God I can play Guild Wars 2 as a third-person shooter. Because if I had to do it in the traditional way that like um, World of Warcraft, which I've never played, which I know next to nothing about, other than that it's this huge thing that's been around forever, but it's losing players. Um, if I had to play Guild Wars 2 that way, I probably would have rage quit within the first 4 months of me picking up Guild Wars 2 because there were a lot of there were some things that were interesting, but I was really struggling with the mechanics. When they introduced that third person shooter camera setting, which I won't get into details here. When they introduced that, it completely revolutionized, and the skies cleared up, and then I was able to enjoy the game. Then I could get into it. Um, in stark contrast, and I'm going to be real quick about this. In stark contrast, I recently, in early January, I picked up Diablo 3 on like there's like a half off sale or something like that. So I only paid $22, $25 thereabouts for it. So like, okay, I've heard of the Diablo title, but I know next to nothing about it. Okay, I'll buy it. I'll play it. I didn't like it. I struggled with mechanics on it all the time. I struggled with not being able to turn the camera because majority of games I've played, you can move the camera around, whether it's a real-time strategy or a first or third-person shooter or something else along those lines. So having a fixed camera in that kind of setting was frustrating. Not having multiple types of weapons to work with, that was frustrating. Being confined to one single weapon. Well, Ava, that's how MMOs work. That's how dungeoneering works. Yeah, well, tell that to the people over at Guild Wars too. You know, so maybe it is a case of been playing Guild Wars 2 for almost 4 years at that point, and then going into Diablo 3, not knowing anything about it, obviously ahead of time. Maybe I was doomed to, to not like it or something like that. But I paid my $22, 22, $25. I played it for on and off for about 2 months, but I just decided it's not for me. It's not my thing. So the reason why there's no Diablo 3 footage is because, well, I did record my initial reactions, my initial playthrough, and it was about 3, 4 hours unedited. In other words, I've got the video footage, I just haven't done anything with it. I'm probably going to delete that. You're not going to see any Diablo 3 footage from me, so. So, anyways, I can't lean on Diablo 3, but I can lean, at this point, I can lean on Guild Wars 2, because Guild GW2 is something I play almost every single day. I don't play it as obsessively as I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but I'm still in touch with it. I still keep track of what's going on. I still keep track of the updates and things like that. But then there's this huge shakeup at ArenaNet, the publisher, or not the publisher, but the game developer, ArenaNet. They recently had this huge shakeup. So like, oh my God, within a year, maybe a year and a half, Guild Wars 2 might be gone before its entire storyline and all those locations and the far Shiver Peaks and Cantha and the Crystal Desert and the what was it called, the Blood Legion homelands, before all of those things are revealed and explored, the game might be gone, and all because of an internal political shift that just happened so suddenly that nobody saw it coming. You remember when Blizzard Entertainment recently announced they laid off about 100 workers? It was like 100 or 300 workers or something like that, and it made ripples through the gaming community. Like, whoa, where'd this come from? That very same day, ArenaNet officially posted a tweet or whatever it was saying, "Hey, come on over to us." And then less than a week after that tweet came out, ArenaNet announced their own layoffs. So awkward and completely unexpected, and nobody within the company knew this was coming. So Guild Wars 2 is under threat. Um, Star Wars, Star Trek, Super Sentai, Guild Wars 2. Um, I said Super Sentai already, didn't I? Yeah, I think I did. Transformers is not exactly in the best place right now. Am I watching Cyberverse? No, I'm not. Did I watch the Bumblebee Robots in Disguise TV series? No, I did not. Because as far as I'm concerned, that version of RID, that second version, third version, fourth version, why do they keep calling them Robots in Disguise the series? Makes no sense. That current version of RID was basically the same as Beast Machines. You watch Transformers Prime, and it was a really, really good show. You watch Robots in Disguise, and it's completely different writers, completely different continuity. Well, it's technically the same universe, same history, same continuity, but it just you don't want to know. So I completely skipped that thing. So Transformers is in a questionable state right now. I'm not happy with that. By the way, did I see the Bumblebee movie in the theater? No, I did not, because I did not have access to a vehicle and I could not get to a theater. Story of my life. I missed yet another really good movie that I really wanted to see in the theater because of circumstance. So makes me sick. I wanted to see that movie in the theater. Just gonna have to wait for the Blu-ray. So yeah, and I still haven't seen The Last Night. I still haven't seen Age of Extinction. So, anyways, no spoilers on those three films, please. Don't tell me because I hate spoilers. Um, so that's kind of in the entertainment world for me. And then on top of that, and I know this video is getting really long. I apologize. Um, and I haven't even gotten to the thing that I wanted to discuss. On top of that, trying desperately to avoid creating political strife regarding national politics. I don't like where the national politics in the United States of America are going right now. I don't like it. It's this all or nothing mentality that I don't like. It's this, um, it's our party or you can go to hell type policy that I don't like, which is never what the founding fathers were intending. They never intended for it to be a one-party system. That was never the intent. It's a democracy, which means that everybody has equal say, and bankers and billionaires, well, not just bankers, but industrial giants have succeeded in corrupting. Um, Industry leaders, industry giants have succeeded in corrupting the laws, in corrupting lawmakers. They have succeeded in doing that. And we currently have a president, let me say that again, we currently have an individual occupying the Oval Office who has had who has a minimum 9 large business failures to their credit before they got to the Oval Office, before they were nominated for presidential candidate. Okay, so they're roiling in controversy long before they announced their presidential run, long before. And I can't understand this all or nothing mentality. It goes back to that Asperger's syndrome thing. I am a Libra dog, not necessarily a liberal dog, but I am a Libra dog. By the way, Libra, liberal, liberation, those are all tied into the same word. I think it's one of those Latin words. I think they all have the same roots. So I'm a Libra dog. That means I prefer balance. I prefer, just to be able to see both sides and then make a judgment. Well, currently in national politics, I'm seeing one side is doing this, the other side's doing the other, and if you're not part of our party, then you're the enemy, which was never ever what the founding fathers wanted. I am not a constitutional scholar. I'm not a founding father scholar. That came out weird. I'm not that. But even I can see that this was never what they intended. This is not what they taught us in grade school. It's not what they. It's. This is not how a democracy works. Where it's one party. You know what it is? At that point, it becomes a communist system where it's one party dominating and you have to do it our way. It is a communist dictatorship. That is what the United States currently is. As of 2016, in my opinion, that is what the United States of America is right now. Because it's one party, one leader, all or nothing. And that's not at all what they wanted. The founding fathers created, fought for, died for the foundation of this country to be based around democracy, where everybody has an equal say, everybody gets an equal share. but you also have the ability to make money if you so desire. Democracy is I don't want to get into this, but like you know the pilgrims, those famous pilgrims who first met the Indians, that thing that story we're always told at Thanksgiving Day. They would not have left Great Britain. They would not have left Europe if they were okay with dictatorships, if they were okay with fiefdoms, if they were okay with a single church ruling over the entire world. They left to get away from all that. The Protestants, they left all of that. They didn't want to deal with that, where it's our way or not at all. It's our way or you're executed. It's our way or you go to prison. It's our way or you get executed. Or you get burned to death in the most horrible, or you get killed in the most horrible fashions. Now, yeah, they wanted to get away from all of that. And this whole tribal, um, it's our way or not at all thing that's currently going on within that's going to, I don't get it. How did it get to that point? And then on top of that, you've got these huge industries, Disney, and you've got these huge industries paying off lawmakers to remove restrictions from the book. I know that the Republican Party is all about having less government involvement, but that being said, folks, there are some things that need regulation. They need it. And industry regulating itself usually becomes corrupted very quickly because it's like, hey, we can do whatever we want to. We can put whatever rules we want to in place. And then it starts getting greedy at that point. It starts getting selfish at that point. So you've got that factor coming in and mixing things around. And then you've got, I started out with talking about Twitter and MySpace, Facebook, and all those others that I totally keep away from, that are just kind of blindly following along. If you're not part of your party, you're worse than Hitler. People have no idea. People now have no idea. That war ended. That war was fought 70 years ago for a very good reason. Right now, the United States of America is becoming, I can't believe I'm saying this, is becoming Nazi Germany. The thing that we fought against, we are becoming that. With all the financial backing of the Russian Federation. Ding ding. That's not the country I was born into. That's not the. I'm not in a good place right now. The timer just crossed 54 minutes. I'm not in a good place right now. So I've got, these entertainment things that keep me occupied, that allow me to drown out the chaos that's happening elsewhere out there around me that I have absolutely no control over whatsoever. I am the little guy, and there's nothing I can do about it. You know that tax reform thing that the President of the United States signed a year and a half ago at December, called it a Christmas present? That affected me. That affected me almost immediately. I'm a victim of it as well. I had to deal with that. I'm dependent. I work part time. I depend on, because of my disability, which, and it's more complicated than what I'm talking about here. I'm deliberately not getting into the details, but because of my situation, I need that monthly government check to pay for food, to pay for this roof over my head, to pay for the electricity, to pay for the telephone, the internet connection that I'm using right now. I need that. And that tax reform thing, that hit me. I was impacted by that. But then again, I don't have $300 million, supposedly. Or 300, yeah, I don't have $300 million, so it doesn't matter. It's the old story of the big guy versus the little guy. I'm not in a good place right now. And the worst thing about it is my disability. Which I don't like using as a crutch. I don't like using it. I don't say, I'm disabled, you have to treat me differently. You have to. Oh, I get special treatment. I don't do that. I don't do that. And I want to emphasize that. I do not lean on my disability as a crutch. I don't. But it is a factor. Because of my disability, I can't understand power. And I can't understand power struggles. And I can't understand how somebody can get to this point and yet it's different from somebody else. The phrase, why can't we all get along? I am the person asking that. I don't get it. Maybe that's the human experience. Maybe it is. But there are plenty of other countries right now, second, third world countries, who have it better sorted out than the United States of America does right now. And none of them are under financial attack or internet troll attack from the Russian Federation, and they're all doing fine. That doesn't make me a weeaboo, by the way. It doesn't. I'm not. I'm not. But this is not the country that I was born into, and it's in a dark place that I don't like. I really don't. I am deliberately staying away from national news because every single headline is about the Oval Office said this or it didn't say this, or I'm deliberately staying away from it right now. I don't like it. I don't like where it's going, but the worst thing about it is I can't do anything about it. You could fund the next candidate, or you could become a candidate. No, I can't. If I could have done that, I would have done that 20 years ago. If I wanted to be a politician, I would have done that 20 years ago. Yeah, I would have done that right out of high school. I'm not that kind of person. And as a direct result of that, I'm getting left behind. The same as almost 280 million people in this country are getting left behind. But 285 million, something to that effect, the vast majority of them have either already taken sides or they're not talking at all. I'm not in a good place, and neither is my home country. I don't like it. And I'm trapped. There's nothing I could do about it. And the places that I usually go to escape to are ultimately being affected by that same thing. Why don't I have Facebook? Why don't I have Twitter? So that I don't impulsively spit out something stupid. So that I don't have to read and respond to the impulsively stupid. That's why I'm not on those. Oh, 59 minutes, 30 seconds. Wow, I've been at this for a whole hour. Wow, this rant is going way longer than I thought it would. I think I'm going to turn this into a second video. Yeah, I'm about to cross 1 hour. Aside from editing out the coughs and maybe me stuttering over myself or stumbling over myself, yeah, I think I'm going to have to turn this into 2 videos. Damn it. So yeah, I'm not going to call this one an unboxing, but yep, there it is. 1 minute or 1 hour, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, hour and 10. I need to get this off. I needed to get that off my chest. I haven't even gotten to all the things that I wanted to talk about. So stay tuned for the next video.